Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks. And this week, taking a look at my live guitar solos. Are they ad nauseum or ad lib? I guess there's a few notes in this next solo that will probably give you the answer. So I made a video relatively similar to this last year, taking a look at the process behind an average episode of Friday Fretworks, specifically the intro and outro jams. And while I guess playing live or playing to camera are still both fundamentally playing guitar, the thought process behind each scenario differs wildly, at least for me, and as such, the outcomes tend to be wildly different. I get asked all the time whether my live solos are rehearsed or whether they're improvised, and if the few jazzy notes, shall we say, that you've just heard in today's introduction clip are anything to go by, I thought it would make for an interesting topic to cover, because I guess the answer runs a little bit deeper than you might have expected. I think it's fair to say that I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship when it comes to video as a medium. On the one hand, it really is integral to what I do, whether that's making videos like this for YouTube, whether it's live sessions with the band, like the one that I shot up at Abbey Road a few weeks ago, you'll be seeing that very soon, or whether it's using fan clips like the one that you've just seen at the start of today's video, taken from a festival that I played with Cardinal last weekend. I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't have anywhere near the reach that I do if I wasn't so open-minded to using video, and kind of having gotten used to speaking to camera and stuff like this, and I definitely wouldn't be making a living as a professional musician. On the other hand, however, the fact that, for the most part, pretty much everything that I do is filmed definitely tempers my approach to live playing in particular. As I discussed in the last video that I made on this topic, when it comes to Friday Fretworks, for the sake of expediency more than anything, solos tend to take on a shape and a structure and a form pretty quickly, and whether that then takes 1 or 20 takes to capture one that I'm happy with, it's all much of a muchness after a little while, just to accelerate the process. Of course, when I'm filming it, I'm not only focusing on how it sounds, but how it looks as well. Of course, doing a video a week, as I have done for a little while now, is a pretty big undertaking, especially alongside rehearsing, touring, raising a family, everything else that I'm kind of doing in my life. So anything that accelerates that process is, of course, going to be gratefully received. When it comes to live playing, however, it is fun to have the opportunity to take the handbrake off every now and then, come up with something that is truly improvised or truly extemporaneous, of the moment or special or unique. Of course, the caveat being that while one night may work and you may get something that is special and inspired, the next night might be bloody awful. I've always found it a fun risk to take though. That is up until the last few years, when invariably The next day, or even a few hours later, those solos tend to start popping up on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, at which point that solo goes from being a moment in time to being a moment devoid of context for all time, for better or for worse. As a consequence, for me at least, my live solos can sometimes feel like a little bit of a halfway house, part planned, part improvised. Now, I know, of course, I'm not alone in this, but I guess it's probably not the worst thing in the world when you think about it. Taking the handbrake off and seeing what happens, as I said, can be a recipe for disaster, but by only leaving a percentage of what happens in the solo up to chance or up to the moment of the night, you kind of give the audience the best of both worlds. They get something unique and different from night to night, but at the same time, you are kind of limiting the chances of the train coming off the tracks entirely. The next clip that you're going to see is of the same track that you've just heard at the start of today's video, but taken from a festival that we played a good few months ago, where hopefully you can see or hear at the very least that there are some definite differences in the solo, but there are also some key similarities, which I'm kind of using as a bit of a roadmap to guide not only myself, but the band through the solo, give them some point of reference as to where I am in my mind, how long's left, how long I've been going, and kind of just any guide so they can really react dynamically. Ultimately, guitar solos aren't a one-size-fits-all situation. Some music leaves space or even invites improvisation, whereas some just calls for you to play exactly the same solo that you played on the record or that someone else played on the record. Now, Cardinal Black have just come off tour with the Struts, 6 whistle-stop tour dates around the UK, where we played the same 45-minute set every night, primarily because of the very quick changeover time. Now, of course, this doesn't leave a great deal of room for going wandering off-piste, so you kind of have to learn how to have fun within relatively tight confines. And for me, that's just kind of improvising the solos, at least to a degree. Would it be tighter if I just played the same solo every night? Yes, and I probably wouldn't be sat in the dressing room after our set, slightly apprehensive that solo or whatever it was will inevitably end up on YouTube or Instagram or on Facebook. But for me, as I said, it always has very much been a risk worth taking. Letting the handbrake off every now and then, at least to a degree, is where the fun lies. You just have to be okay with the idea that it may not always go to plan, and when it doesn't, it probably will end up on YouTube. As ever, I'm Chris Buck, you're watching Friday Fretworks. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another episode of Friday Fretworks. Cheers guys, take care, see you soon.